This next story has been suppressed by mainstream media. Let's go to Andreas for more.
Everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
Hello. Welcome to the Exators. Tune in for another exciting episode of wonder, imagination, and discovery.
Recent Tartarians.
Неформально образует всеобщие закономерности, определяющие законы классической физики для нашего
Sometimes I
мира.
look at the moon and just think, the skin's beautiful.
Baby, when I met you, there was peace unknown.
Что касается энергии наномира, то она превышает ядерную в немыслимое число раз. 10 в 74 степени.
That's it. That's it. That's it. With your arms now. That's it. That's it.
Thank you for watching Exators. Keep listening. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, please follow and subscribe and share and support. It really helps. Coming up next, Exators.
By the way, that's gone. If you didn't record that, that's gone forever. It's gone.
Tonight, Bob Lazar is trash. We're two men in suits. How's it going? No, I wanted to have a good time. I just thought that'd be great.
And the government is not paying us to say that.
I mean, I just thanks for that. So let me introduce one of my favorite people in the world. He's like super brilliant, and anytime anyone ever brings up anything these days, I'm like, you should really just listen to Jeremy Reese, the alien scientist. I did this the other day, and I couldn't get it across to them. I was like, why are you talking to me about these terrible YouTube channels that are not interesting, that are just fake viral nonsense? I was actually frustrated because they hadn't been watching your show. And then I went back to your channel and said, oh my God, there's like probably 16 new videos I hadn't seen. So I'm just starting to get caught up on, because you do a lot of stuff. You're doing amazing stuff, a lot of research into advanced alternative propulsion and the research into what kind of classified technology and declassified technology is available to humanity and to the elite, right? That's basically a start.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's trillions of dollars missing from the Pentagon budget. I believe a lot of it went into stovepipe blacked operations, which our tax dollars paid for. That research belongs to us, and I've been trying to get it for us and digging through anytime anything leaks. Looking at there's certain keywords that I search almost daily just to see, because stories tend to disappear or get hidden or buried. So you got to stay up on these things. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, has had a couple leaks, for example. People went to prison over stuff, and people don't know about it because it's not widely reported on. And you got to stay in the underground news and pay attention to the beat if you really want to stay informed on what the classified programs are and what they're researching. We believe that it has nothing to do with national security, that it has everything to do about leveraging the information and using it against other people.
Interesting.
There's a game called Werewolf that they play, and to the villager, everyone is a villager, and nobody knows who the werewolves are except for the werewolves. Everyone gets dealt a card, and there's two werewolves in the group, and the group, as the villagers, have to try to figure out who the werewolves are, but the werewolves know who the werewolves are, and it's like the werewolves almost always win the game, even though there shouldn't be a technical advantage. The technical advantage is that that they have information that the other players don't. And that's a thing of information theory and game theory, that if you have hidden information that other players don't, then you'll almost always win in the game. And we want to leverage that playing ground, because there's just too many times that these technologies are leveraged and used by the government against people who are ignorant to them.
It's freaking wild. I mean, especially right now because we have two ways to do it. One is to gather information and resources with the technology. I mean, you've seen the elite control resources and exchanges and everything like that is pretty obvious. But the other is like the blue beam aspect, where people are constantly telling me, how is that possible that this could be done? As if they haven't watched the 1940s Disney explanation of how, they do it. Like any little thing at all, right? At all.
They just have to follow Steven Spielberg's playbook and do it like Close Encounters, There's a number of different ways they could do it, but who knows what they could leverage that technology for, or what they might pull with it. The man behind the curtain is up to all kinds of things.
Right. Well, so let me pull up again. This is your alt APEC, alt propulsion site, and you've got some information that you've also put out on your channel here. The video that I was just watching, I was really excited about, was the Free Energy Friday with APEC panel. That was really interesting. You're going over a lot of different things. Maybe you want to catch people up on what kind of research they could expect to see you doing on the Alien Scientist channel. Maybe that would help people understand, because you're so deep in what you...
Well, I know like tons of these. We've been on YouTube since 2008, so we've just been doing these streams, and we've gotten so many interesting topics that we've gotten subject matter experts that come out of the woodwork. And I always leave the chats open, and I always leave it open to people. And you just never know who people who used to pop by like crazy. It's been a lot filtered down, but we got some good people. So if people are searching for the right things and looking for the technologies and the key words, the key technology words, they're going to find the videos. You might have to know those keywords, and often it's the scientist's name, so we find the scientist's names. That's been like the key to all this is the scientists, because it's really just keeping a lexicon of, a Rolodex, a black book of all the subject matter experts out there, so that, I'm not an expert on that stuff, but that's why you come to me, but I know someone. So it's like, I'll get you the right answer, I'll get you a good answer. And I know the person to ask, and I know know how to find that person. So that's a lot of what the intelligence agencies, do. And that's how.
Do you feel any concern when you share things? I mean, this was an interesting point. The former Air Force contractor was sentenced to prison for illegally taking 2,500 pages of classified information. I mean, this kind of thing can be very serious in terms of the repercussions, not just in a prison sentence way, but in an Aaron Schwartz kind of way. What do you think about that? The way you're
yeah,
being
they've
so
shadow
transparent?
banned the heck out of us in the algorithm. They've come after, I believe, me in my personal life and other things, involved with. I mean, they've harassed me on Twitter, on channel. I've tried to go on big channels to get information out, and I've gotten like basically just these people have, dominated they'll just dominate all the live chats and the comments section with just complete, trash talk and stuff.
Absolutely. It seems crazy how much of that, because you're doing the real research, and I'm seeing it get ostracized in favor of conjecture on Rogan. I feel like that's kind of what we have as an alternative. And you're going and doing tests
specifically. I mean, yeah, there's a number of topics, like conspiracies and stuff where it seems like on UFO Twitter, on Twitter, it seems like there's been a lot of and just everything's Jews conspiracy, and I don't think it's, I think there's a lot of really interesting, Jewish organized crime connections and stuff like that, especially connections to the media and stuff like that. But it's not just that. It's much more complex and bigger than that. And I think that those people they all seem to be like Christian, Bible Belt people that are like, I don't know. It's like they'd be racist if it was 1960, but it's not appropriate anymore. So they think.
Yeah, I feel like also I've seen targeting by slanderous association, right? Because by being associated with these really crazy, outlandish conspiracy theories, we'll even say, it ends up corrupting the research being done into what, for instance, you're looking at lasers that are creating vacuums in front of jets so that they have less resistance in air. And this is a very practical thing that people
Yep.
should know is right. But this is not something that everyone wants to talk about in favor of talking about, right? Some sort of the conspiracies. That seems to be the more favored romantic topic.
It's more romantic to say that, oh, we have, exotic weaponry that we can do anything with, so where does that capabilities line stand? And that's what a technical assessment is all about in the field. If you were to assess this field of technical intelligence, I'm sure that foreign agents are looking at these disclosures, like that metamaterial with the gig, the terahertz frequency, the 1 to 9 terahertz frequency, or it was actually 4 to 8. I think we got a more specific band in Lou Elizondo's latest book, there. And so he's saying disclosure already happened, that so this is apparently the disclosure. So we're in the process of vetting that among a lot of other things, because we've gotten a lot of other whistleblowers and scientists who've like Charles Bueller, and the DARPA guy there, what's his name, John Brandenburg, who came out this year. So we've got a lot of interesting stuff to dig through and look at that's been declassified from that, to look at as well. So if this is all real and there's something to it, then we're going to look at it, and find this out. So I've been trying to get more people interested in the science, and also trying to get more scientists and on board and involved, and know that they can get their hands on with some interesting projects, learn about new technologies, learn about existing technologies, and how we can get from here to there, and whatnot. That's the big problem, is like, how do we get from here to there, and also how do we understand where we are realistically? Because there's all this disinformation being saying that hey, we're at the Jetsons, guys. We're 20 years ahead. We're sending people to Mars with the 20 and back program. I mean, there's all kinds of Cosmic Disclosure came out with a whole show like years ago. It was got millions of people interested in this through the Gaia network and
yeah, right.
And some real big platforms, and got a lot of people.
But they're always into like this kind of dreamy, unexplainable thing. They're not so like, it's again with the sexy comic book story. They're not asking like, like for you. Okay, so for you, like, what do you see as, just like for some concrete examples to kind of start off? Like, what do you see some of the more promising areas of like anti-gravity, or alternative propulsion or something like that you could just kind of give it as an example, like. Like kind of disruptive technology that changes the world.
Well, it's the thing is, if any one of them turns out to be, then what's it gonna do? And there's been a conversation going around about like, what if you did have free energy technology? What if you did have anti-gravity technology? Would you want to release it to the world, or would you think that they did a good job and that we should just keep this all going and not speak of it as long as we can? Because they've done a pretty good job of hiding it if they have. And although the argument that the safe argument is to say that we haven't figured it out yet because we haven't really seen it. But then again, there's a lot of people that have seen some stuff. A lot of real serious people that have seen some real serious stuff flying around, and they don't know what the heck that stuff is. Even stuff in the water. There's been a lot of USO reports of things underwater coming up under subs and light, a light that shines so bright under the sub that it's shown through the metal, like your hand on a light bulb. You can see that through your hand, like it turns red. So yeah, that's some crazy stuff if true.
I mean, I was gonna think about in terms of like the underwater stuff. So. How to get at that? When we think about how much is going on in the sky, right? Like, how much do you think is this is a hard question, but what's the difference maybe between like a drone USO and maybe like a nuclear submarine right now? What would you say?
Well, I mean, when did we start building nuclear subs? Like 70s? I don't know the exact decade, but
before that, I think in the
probably
60s,
before that.
yeah,
I mean, we
maybe
started
50s.
building nuclear reactors and small enough to, you know, put one on a sub, I guess. So, and then putting the ICBMs, of course, on the subs, because it's a more strategic place to have the nukes. Although it's a very dangerous place to be having the nukes as well, because if anything, you know, that happens to that sub, it's like you got nuclear material on board too. So, yeah, it's I'm sure that's happened a few times, and there's had to be some recoveries and stuff. But as far as the USOs, what's on the market today, I mean, they have companies. I mean, there's a company right here in Rhode Island called Electric Boat that I know does some interesting work, and I've met some I met some people that are like, it's not just them, because it's like outside contractors that work kind of tangentially to these other contractors and companies, and they build some interesting stuff for sure that can outperform, you know, I mean, as far as maneuverability, a smaller craft is going to be able to outmaneuver a larger craft any day, especially when you add in, you know, the cavitation technology, where you can super cavitate you know, so there's no water resistance.
I feel like it's a more practical example for people, because when they're thinking about, you know, UAPs or UFOs, if you think about USOs, it's the complication of all sorts of submarine technology all over the world, and, you know, even just maybe you can think about cartel GPS drones, right? That this complicates the secrecy, complicates the exploration of this technology and what's going on with any sort of like USO, right? Basically.
So yeah, there's a lot of interesting companies. Like I did another stream about VOUGHT, and I talked about VOUGHT, VOUGHT, and VOUGHT is a company that started in the 40s. No, I think before that, and they were making aircraft in the 40s for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, including some of the first flying saucer type aircraft. So look up the LTV Pancake. It's the slowest craft ever built by the Air Force. That was an official Air Force craft. And it was, you know, some of these early attempts at flying saucers back in the 40s and stuff, which is, you know, just wild that this company went from all these top secret saucer program things back in the 40s to being merged in the 50s into this company called LTV, Ling Techmovoit, which is actually connected to the JFK assassination, because the owner of Ling Techmovoit was a guy named Harry Byrd. Do you know who Harry Byrd was?
Admiral?
Yeah, Admiral Byrd's cousin, I think, or his nephew, I believe.
Wow. Okay.
So Admiral Byrd, who did the Explorer. Yeah. So then, and then Harold D. Byrd is the guy we want to look at. So, again, connected to you know, former President Roosevelt and stuff. So they're all connected to presidents. So deep.
Byrd's cousin, Polar Explorer, Richard E. Byrd. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, his cousin was the Polar Explorer, and this guy owned the building where Oswald shot JFK from.
What? So this Dave Martin, sorry to dox you there by saying your name, but was friends with VOUGHT's son. Very good for you. That's very cool. We should talk to you someday. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's crazy. Small world, man. I met a couple people that, like, I did some work for VOUGHT, and it was like, definitely they had a classified area that I couldn't even go in, and like, they literally, if it caught fire in there, they'll let it burn down. They won't even let the fire department in there, and you know.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's crazy stuff out there in the top secret program world, and LTV was doing who knows what they were doing during the 60s. I still think we should dig into that a lot deeper, because whatever it was secret enough for them to, take out JFK over. Because if you remember, JFK said he wanted to go after the whole UFO file. He wanted the truth from the CIA, to know what was going on with all the UFO programs and all that stuff. And the companies who were involved in all that, was guys like D. Harold Bird. And D. Harold Bird, he was a co-founder of the Civil Air Patrol. Right there, look up the Civil Air Patrol at the top. Civil Air Patrols was the where Lee Harvey Oswald first joined, and before he joined the Marines, he was actually recruited into the CIA through Civil Air Patrol before he joined Marines. So there's pictures of, if you look up a photograph, Oswald David Ferry. Look up that photo. Lee Harvey Oswald David Ferry, Ferrie. Yeah, that you'll see some of those pictures. So David Ferry was the guy played by Joe Pesci in the film JFK with Oliver Stone. But he was a real guy, and he's in the helmet there. That's David Ferry, and that's Lee Harvey Oswald at the Civil Air Patrol. And David Ferry was a CIA pilot connected to the whole Barry Seal and drug smuggling kind of ring back in the day as well, and gun running as well. David Ferry recruits Lee Harvey Oswald. Believe that he was the whole connection there to, and also so Lee Harvey Oswald, Lee Harvey Oswald goes to the Marines. He's stationed at Atsugi Air Force Base. You know that Atsugi Air Force Base is where the U-2 spy plane flights were all flown out of over the Soviet Union during the 60s and the 50s, late 50s, right? So he's working at the base where they're flying the U-2 spy planes out of, but he totally doesn't work for the CIA. The CIA says, he's definitely not a CIA guy. We have no clue that this guy has ever worked for the CIA. They have no ties to the CIA. This is what they told the public for decades and stuff. Yeah, he worked at the Air Force Base where they ran the Ox Cart program out of, which is quite wild.
It's a minor coincidence is all, right?
Yeah, just a minor coincidence. Then he comes back. He stays with D. Harold Bird's good friend. She gives him a home in Dallas, Texas. You know that? Her name's Ruth Payne. So this is an interesting connection because Congressman Tim Burchett, if you look up recently, Tim Burchett was on, I think it was on Sean Ryan, and he said, why can't they give us the JFK files? And he said that they're all dead, He said that they should be able to release the JFK files because everyone who was involved in that's dead, But Ruth Payne, not dead. And she was Oswald's landlord and also a good friend of D. Harold Bird, who got, and she got him the job with D. Harold Bird. So she knows some stuff. And I think there's some files that connect Ruth Payne with the assassination. She might even be a co-conspirator with the CIA. And that could be a reason why they can't release the files, because everyone involved is not dead.
Very true.
There's a whole website about it called jfkpain.com. There's an entire documentary that goes into all the details, and I won't bore you all with all the whole deep story, but it's there for anyone who wants to do the research on the history, ladies and gentlemen. The CIA was founded, yes, the same year as the Roswell incident. That is correct. I can't highlight the comment there, but
very cool. I'm gonna bring in Winslow, which it's nice to see you again. It's been a while. How are you? Winslow, introducing Jeremy Reese, alien scientist. How are you? So last time we were talking to you, there was a lot of talk of DARPA projects that were going rather successfully as well. Maybe you'd like to give some bit of an update on where you feel the technology is going. Oh, and you're muted, by the way. I should have warned you. Sorry, Winslow. Didn't you hear that you're muted? Winslow.
Where's Winslow?
You're muted.
He's muted. There he is.
Sorry about that. Thanks for letting me know I was muted. I was just saying I was chiming in when you guys were talking about the Civil Air Patrol because my great-grandfather was in the Civil Air Patrol. So it's interesting.
All right.
Was he recruited into CIA?
I've heard things like that, but I can't confirm.
Texas, right? Was it Texas though?
We have family in Texas.
So it might have been the doubt because it's only certain ones. It's not like there's a Civil Air Patrol was like a lot of different places, and they don't recruit everyone who goes to Civil Air Patrol into CIA either. So
they use them as diplomat, like almost like pilots for like if diplomats are going to go to other countries, the Civil Air Patrol will pilot them to places. That's as much as I know. So you probably teach me some more.
Very interesting. Well, we
But
can. Do
he's
you guys
not
want
allowed to tell you anything more? You can't interview him on the show. No.
He's not alive anymore. But you guys were talking about some like technology back in the 1900s before that, right? And that was making me think about you guys heard of the Sonoran Aero Club?
Yes, Charles Delachaux.
Right, Nimza.
So you know about that, okay? So yeah, I've only looked into it. I wasn't born in that city, so it's something interesting to look at.
See, Walter Bosley comes right up. We've interviewed him before. I don't. Have you been on those with Bosley, man? I don't know if you got in on that, Andreas, but
I've definitely had Bosley a few times. So.
One of the best times I had with Bosley, I had Joseph Farrell on too, and like that was like quite a time, man. I really gotta get Farrell on again. That was quite a ride.
Yeah, the Scientific American journal that he produced had a bunch of really interesting designs, and I wonder also about how you feel these influence modern UAPs, like how much you're seeing technology like this, because a lot of this is talking about different kinds of gases, ionic spin states, right? Like in order to create magnetism that's directed in different directions, and then to be able to push the ions. So what do you think much of this has actually made its way? Any of these designs actually hold water today?
I don't know. I'm holding on to it as a backdrop because Bosley sent me actually some pieces of mariposite, which is supposedly what they extract the stuff from to make like the fluid for the spinny stuff in the craft. I haven't done any of that yet. I wanted to test, be able to test it and stuff. And we have so much other stuff going on first that it kind of like if we get to that, it might, but I don't have good physics to go on there. We have a lot of really great theorists that have been really working through like all the Tom Bearden stuff, all the, backdoor Higgs, claims that the Higgs field is somehow generative from electromagnetism or vice versa. So we've got some good theory behind where we have an approach to. So we don't really need to like just play around in the dark with this kind of old stuff. Is kind of like the way that my friends feel who are like, we have a team of science advisors that kind of like say, all right, what are we going to fund? We have X amount of dollars and X amount of time to do research. So how do we list all our technologies in a priority table of like what's the lowest hanging fruit for the cheapest,
right? That
we can say, all right, well, this doesn't work, we can throw that away, and that's the cheap. We didn't waste a lot of money. We didn't burn through all the money, So it's like it's a strategy for like how do you spend your money to get the most,
Well, like, okay, so a couple days ago you were working on a gravitator. I know that was something that you showed on your X page, as well as you made a video for YouTube. showing how, to make a gravitator. Maybe you want to explain a bit about like what this is and the practicality of such an experiment.
So apparently it's, if you read Thomas Townsend Brown is he's got like a whole website for his family and everything. And if you go on, he's got his notebooks, his original like notebooks, and are all published on there. And if you really read through his notes on the gravitator and this stuff, what's in there is it really is specific to the geometry of these fields. And so the way I'm doing it here is the best that we could come up with, but I really feel that if there's some way to microstructure those edges more perfectly than we're doing with this very crude metamaterial I'm constructing with foil tape and a razor blade on some 3D printed parts, I think that you could get a much sharper, more defined field, because it's really about the shape, the shape of the things, and the way that the shape, certain geometries interact. So something about those geometries will create this some kind of symmetry breaking, this CPT symmetry breaking going on, because this thing will propel in a vacuum. We'll go in space it will push off of nothing, which is like, how do you do that? And that's what Elon Musk says is impossible. He says, in order to go in space, you have to push off energy. You have to have mass, and you push off mass, right? That's why we build rockets. So rockets are the only way. That's what he's saying with NASA and SpaceX. And when they asked him about it, I don't know if you saw that. I forget where that interview was. I have it on my X channel somewhere, and I should go back. I should go find it. Well, you guys get talking. If you guys get into something and I have a second, I'll go dig and find that clip for you where it's Elon saying that specifically. He's like, it's too far in the future. Ideas like this, he's like, it's not possible, not plausible. But like, how is he not even thinking about it or looking at it? He must have, someone telling him that, this is not worth looking into or something.
I mean, when was the solar sail project? I think the early 90s at the latest, right? So it seems like a pretty
but then
accepted
you also
technology.
had the M drive thing,
right?
And we interviewed that guy, and he kind of explained what went on with that. He said no, they didn't debunk it, they just basically tried to. And so I guess these asymmetric capacitor kind of drives, there's something going on here. It's not, I don't think Einstein was necessarily wrong. It's just different solution. It's topological solutions to Einstein's field equations that were never considered by the.
Well, I don't know if we were going that direction, but what do you think about the Michelson-Morley experiment? Do you really believe that it completely is a successful experiment to disprove ether, or is that a complete farce?
Well, the luminiferous ether, supposedly, but it doesn't exclude these topological, but it doesn't exclude the topologically isolated systems. So you can break out of if you break out of the entanglement, which holds all that relativity together, because you guys think they haven't been able to merge quantum mechanics with special relativity because they haven't figured out how it's an emergent phenomenon, obviously, from quantum mechanics, and they haven't really reconciled how relativity emerges from quantum mechanics. But I believe it's through entanglement, and if you can break all the entanglement with these left-handed metamaterials, you might be able to have topological things that would just do different weird stuff in space-time, that space-time's woven together in a certain way. And if you can break free of that, you might be able to do some weird stuff. That's where the physics is pointing anyway. That's apparently what the disclosure is that happened. And it's up to us to really play with this, to figure out, oh, well, hey, we need to find out how do we send a laser pulse and then send another one right when it's bouncing back on itself so that we have a high enough energy that it breaks the Schwinger limit. And if we can break that Schwinger limit, we can get, Bright Wheeler process pair production, or we could get, spontaneous non-linearities spawning from the vacuum. So I think that would be that's where physics is heading. I think these particle accelerators are and that whole era is almost at an end. I think CERN's there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on with that. They spend all this money and the people who invested in it are saying like, well, what have we really gotten out of all this? What if
you don't maximize the terror of CERN, like creating a barren stain on our existence or something like that? It's not your perspective.
No, I think that it was, it's useful for, this standard, verifying this model of physics with the particles and, figuring out the particle zoo. Yeah, it's great. We have all the data down to like the decimal point now. And, now we just need to build the AI to really go through it all, because we can't hire, we don't have enough grad students, or I don't know, the whole situation is over there, but it's there's a lot of things with funding going on too with the people that funded it, because it costs such a ridiculous amount of money. And now that they built this much larger accelerator, it's like, oh well, now we want to build an even bigger one. It's like, well, where does this end? And what are the people who are getting back out of all this? So it's like, people want to fund stuff, and we want to get anti-gravity technology. We want free energy so that we don't have to pay electric bills, and we don't have to put gas in our cars, and we don't have to use roads, because we can just fly through the air. That's what people want. People want we want the Jetsons life, and a car that folds down to a suitcase. And
right. I mean, like a few years ago, it was pretty much accepted. It's kind of funny during, pretty much, I don't know, it was not quite quarantine anymore, but NASA, DARPA, MIT scientists met to discuss their anti-gravity tech. Remember this a couple years back? And, looking at the APEC from futurism, there's a number of pretty serious, friends of ours, I think we could say at this point, that are kind of pushing this research into the forefront for everyone, right? I think it's awesome to see this actually making its way to the public forums.
I gotta give them huge credit over there, because they're one of the Tim McMillan and the Debrief are one of the few people that actually covered us, and people joked around that Tim was a shill and that, all this stuff, and everyone calls
Dude, Tim should be here. I feel bad I didn't invite him. He wears a suit all the time. Now I feel dumb. Like, of course.
Yeah. Well, man, he's a good dude. And
Tim, I'm gonna invite you if you see this. I'm sorry, you're on here next time.
And I got to give credit where credit's due, man. There's people that should have been covering important issues, and that we end up having just a personal falling out, and it's just erupted into like an all-out war in ufology, and like some of the biggest beefs, and all it's done is fractionalize the information further, and created this war over Bob. This guy doesn't believe Bob Lazar. So because I'm debunking Bob Lazar means must be the disinfo agent, and people can't see beyond that or something. It's kind of, I don't know what's going on with it, because I've had a lot of people that just like can't get beyond Bob Lazar, and they just block me. They won't even get past that conversation about element 115 and what the real disclosures are, and the whole history, and John Lear and all that. They can't get through that. But never mind, get into the real all the other anti-gravity stuff that they don't even know about,
I keep thinking of Ninovium is the fun one, right? So like he talks about element 115, and then the guy who supposedly was involved with creating 115 ends up creating 118, Ninovium, Victor Ninov. Of course, everyone was out at Burning Man or something that week, and so there was no one to see this experiment. But it was at Berkeley, so they took it seriously, and eventually, of course, it was proven to be a complete lie. He completely just made this thing up, and for a long time, though, right? This was accepted for like a year or two. People around the world in different universities who were trying to make this element were like, yeah, that doesn't work. And eventually some people found out a real way to do it, and well, your way doesn't make sense compared to the way that Ninov did it, right? And so it's funny to see this in real time. Just they're like making up fake elements left and right so that you can't see the real ones, right? I think now I have Og something or other. Ogonison, right, is the actual one. So it's kind of eventually this information gets out, and we've kind of talked about this so much that they've declassified it, or whatever you call it, disclosed it, where we're now allowed to talk about what the actual element is. But at the time, right, it's this fantasy Pulp Fiction thing that they create, right? And this is not just us. This is not just people watching Rogan. This is official science. This is the way science has been accepted. We have legacy mainstream scientists that are believing in fake elements for years at a time, making research and PhD papers based on not actually existing. I'm having a hard time even communicating how crazy this is, right?
So I'm gonna send you something too. What's your email again? I got it.
Exertus, yeah.
Yep, I got it. All right.
Winslow, do you have any thoughts about this? I mean, I know you're interested in alternative technologies and disruptive technologies.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to learn a little bit more about my grandfather. He was an inventor. So the one I was talking about earlier at the Civil Air Patrol. And he worked with helicopter technology. So
yeah, there was a lot of that in the 60s when a lot of it went into helicopters and like including, Bell had that big contract that was going to go through. They wanted to go into Vietnam, and Kennedy was in the way of all that. And as soon as Kennedy got out of the way, that the contract went through for the helicopters, and they were making money again. All of Johnson's buddies down there. So, yeah, and I don't know what they were making besides helicopters, because they were working on all kinds of, secret aerospace programs, as well, all through all the 50s and 60s, 70s, stuff that we know a lot about, a lot of stuff, but there's still stuff that the public doesn't know about. All the laser stuff that started in the 50s with Q Division. A lot of that stuff's still classified. Can't get access to it. So, what are we going to look at today? Also, let's check out that. So I sent you that email, Zertus. If you've checked it out, that's the May 1989 issue of Scientific American magazine. Now that is the same month and year that Bob Lazar came out with his disclosure about the element 115 stuff. And guess what's on page 68? Look at that nice new BMW. DuPont Chemicals. Awesome. There we go. Stabilized nuclei. Super heavy elements. Oh, like element 115. Oh, is there anything in there about element 115? Oh, there is. It talks about an island of stability, doesn't it? Huh. All the kind of physics stuff that Bob Lazar was talking about and claiming. Interesting. Ding, 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 ding. All right, you're muted, and I can't hear you, brother.
Oh, great. Sorry. So, I'm sorry. I was kind of chiming in on the idea that to reiterate, in 1989, when Lazar is claiming to have done this work, right? This is like a magazine article that's explaining exactly this 115 experiment.
What he just said was the most classified program. It's connected with the aliens out of Area 51.
Whereas here it says that accelerators were developed at Berkeley and in Dubna in the USSR that could give heavier ions enough energy to overcome the electrostatic forces that hinder fusion. Right? Okay. And when did this happen? Between 1958 and 1974.
Yeah.
These have right. No, they're
So Berkeley, the guy who did a lot of that work at Berkeley was who discovered a good number of the elements on the periodic table. Do you know what his name was? Glenn C. Borg.
No, really? Glenn C. Borg. Wait.
No, SEABOG SEA.
Okay, that makes more sense.
That's him.
Seaborg. Wow.
That's the man. He's responsible for a good portion of those higher elements on your periodic table. The master himself. He's the guy from Berkeley that did it all. So,
wow.
He must be the guy who the name Cyborg was inspired by.
Oh yeah, maybe, dude. Because when was the word cyborg first created? I know Jack Sarfati knew that guy. And
I think Cyborg is at UCSC in 1989. Hold on, Cyborg.
It's Wiener, isn't it?
1960s, maybe. Okay, that was from Santa Cruz. Oh well, Australia.
Cyborg, because the whole field of cybernetics. What's the guy?
Norbert Wiener.
Cybernetics is the real future of computing.
First term New York Times report on. Okay, hold on. What year is this? Okay, maybe 1960. Cyborg.
Yeah, but
physiological chief. Sorry. Blah. Go ahead.
There's a whole bunch of these dudes. Yeah, Gordon Pask. That was the guy. Gordon Pask. He's the one that Jack Sarfati knew allegedly. And you know what? He was also connected with that guy that I interviewed from Canada. What was his name? Let me go back to that on my channel. Wanham. Yeah, Walter Murray Wanham. I reached out to this guy. I got an interview with him on the podcast, dude. And then he died like a week later. He was like old. He was like
wow.
Literally old as hell. He was on his deathbed, but yeah, like he died a week after I interviewed him, bro.
Wow.
But he's like a systems control theory guy, like one of the founders of like a lot of the control theory stuff. He's.
Have you guys seen Das Netz?
No. What's Das Netz?
Das Netz is a German documentary. It's a must-watch. You can get it for free online. It ties together the Unabomber, Norbert Wiener, and cybernetics, and MK Ultra.
No, what I don't know the cybernetics connection to that, because I know like Kaczynski.
That's not it. That looks like something else. It's a documentary. You want Das Netz? Is that the net? That's funny.
That's the net in German. That was the German.
You'll have to help me find it, man. I don't know, but
yeah. So, what were you just saying?
There's Unabomber.
The Unabomber, yeah, Ted Kaczynski. He went to Harvard, and when he was at Harvard, they brought him into this CIA MK Ultra program that was run by
Timothy Leary.
No, it wasn't run by Timothy Leary.
He was in the LSD experiments, though. He might have been in both, but he was
poisoner in chief.
Timothy Leary's in the West Coast, though.
Leary was at Harvard.
On the East Coast. Yeah,
Leary was at Harvard for a time while Kaczynski is at Harvard. Leary is doing the LSD experiments, and Kaczynski is one of his subjects. He's a mathematician. He's a mathematics undergrad or grad student at the time. Leary is, a tenured professor. And then he goes to the West. Then after this, Leary goes to the West Coast, and there's all kind of intrigue with him, like trying to break people out of jail, or him getting broken out of jail, or there's a lot of strange things.
Right. Leary ends up going doing a helicopter ride to Africa. Where he escaped out of a jail.
That's incredible. But this ties into Jeremy. This ties into that book Chaos. Have you heard of this book Chaos? It's about CIA mind control experiments in Haight-Ashbury in the 60s, Operation Midnight Climax, etc. Stone, I know you know what I'm talking about.
There's a lot of crazy ties in all that. That they actually they gave the Manson family acid as an MK Ultra experiment to Manchuria and Canada, see if they could get a group to kill. And they wanted to do it with a hippie group because the hippies were peace, love, and freedom and all this stuff. And they wanted people to like be straight and get away from the hippie culture. And that got everyone to start locking their doors after the whole Manson murders, and it made everyone afraid of hippies. And it ruined the counterculture revolution and the counterculture movement that was going on in the 60s. It was a psychological operation. In every sense of the word, because they literally gave Charlie's Angels a bunch of acid and made them commit the Tate murders. And what's even crazier is Sharon Tate and all that stuff. You find out she's the boyfriend of this Hollywood pedophile guy was basically P. Diddy's mentor and the guy who handed off the industry to Diddy and everything.
I wouldn't say Polanski. And you think, how is Polanski attached to Diddy?
Was it Clive Davis though, right? Or
Diddy? No, it was Polanski was and Sharon Tate's boyfriend.
And really, I would say that, I mean, we've done this a few times. Jack Nicholson's probably responsible for the whole, Polanski hot tub scenario. It was him who set it up. But I don't know. Neither here nor there. I was going to ask you about gravitational shielding. Like
Robert Hale and what was the guy named the one that did Poltergeist and all that. There's a whole bunch of crazy connections if you want to go down that rabbit hole.
Spielberg for sure.
Stuff. But that's going to totally get us shout.
Yeah, we should talk about like Eugene Podletnov, right? Podletnov, the guy who did the gravity shielding. What do you think about gravity shielding? Right? Have you done any research into this? The idea that we could create a shielded region that was maybe a shadow of the actual gravity in the spin state. I think that's like a practical centrifugal technology that you could probably use, right?
Right. So I think it's tomorrow, right? Is APEC with is tomorrow the next APEC conference? So we're switching gears kind of fast here. So give me a second because I'm just trying to think
about other things in Sharon Tate.
Yeah. Well, all the ufology stuff's crazy stuff. I mean, all the CIA stuff's crazy stuff with the 60s and everything they did. That whole book Chaos is absolutely nuts. That's all in the book Chaos, by the way.
Oh yeah. Also, Sebastian Shepis asks, Jeremy, how much do you know about Victor Schauberger and his work?
The repulsing I've know a little bit about it. I mean, where does it go? That's like 100 year-old stuff.
True, yeah.
Water flume stuff. Man, I don't know. Like
UFO research, though, also for the Vril and the Thule, some good stuff there on anti-gravity. But yeah, let's not shift those gears yet. We'll go back to that. Let's continue on with this.
I think it's about, creating backflow vortices and riding those, through water currents and stuff. That's like the Victor Schauberger stuff is basically it's that there's all this backflow in fluid,
right?
And that you could, if you rode all the backflows, you could go upstream,
There's also the idea of like illuminate, like
that's basically what fish do, a trout do when they swim in the river. He was observing them and came up with this idea.
Right. That idea also of like luminous ether, and that there's like you were talking about, there's a dynamic to qualia, and some qualia has its own spin state or whatever we're calling a frequency channel that's different, right? And so that can be affected by something else, but it's also something that can be independent of something else. So you could probably use the same technology for deciding to be like a new ground level, which is up, right? Or changing the frame of reference to where things are flat. Right? And these are all ideas that we have just because of the way our frequencies are spinning and keeping us at a single individual state. But they could all be shifted. They could all be recalculated.
So back to your question there about Podkletnov and all that. I don't have the best answer to that, but APEC tomorrow, you're going to be able, if you guys should definitely join the live chat. I'll be reading the live chat so I can answer. If there's good questions in the live chat, I will get them asked and during the Q&A. But specifically tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific time, which is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Nathan Innen will be coming on. And Nathan he's the expert on all that field stuff with the and between Gary Stevenson and Nathan, those are the guys that you want to talk to about all this Podkletnov stuff, because Gary just went way beyond with all that, with the high frequency gravitational wave presentation that he did.
What is APEC?
That's the Alt Propulsion Engineering Conference that we created this a couple of years ago. I think 2020 during the pandemic, we had the Estes Park conference, and everyone was supposed to go out to Estes Park, Colorado for this big conference on anti-gravity. That was run by Jim Woodward. Jim Woodward used to run the STAFE 2 conferences for DARPA, where all this like anti-gravity stuff used to be years ago, back in the 90s and before that even. So a lot of that stopped during COVID because the Estes, no one could go out to the Estes Park conference, and what they ended up doing is they held the conference over Zoom. And that gave us a great idea that why do we have to have conferences once a year and fly everybody out, anymore, when we can just hold them twice a month on Zoom. And so we started doing this conference and getting because we had a whole bunch of scientists that we wanted to interview, and we started getting these people that would come on, and we get like a panel of all these physicists and engineers to just bombard them with the most technical questions that we could, just to get like these, and it spawned into this great thing, man, of all these interviews of just. One of our first interviews that we did was with Mark McCandlish, the guy who came up with the whole UAP. The ARV. You know how Greer and all these other UFO guys talk about alien reproduction vehicles, or ARVs, and that's like a whole term. Well, I believe.
What is that? What is an ARV?
That term actually came from this guy Mark McCandlish, back in like the 90s, talking about this alien reproduction vehicle that he supposedly saw and learned about.
Is it a vehicle that replicates
autonomous remote? Right? Is that what you refer? Autonomous remote vehicle. I think
it's not like a UAV. But it's a ARV was alien reproduction vehicle. He said it was like it was literally reverse engineered vehicle.
Okay, got it.
Vehicles that are like reverse engineered in these kind of programs, similar to the ones that Vought Aerospace was trying back in the early days of the 40s, building their first flying saucer type airplanes and testing saucer airfoil and wind tunnel dynamics. So, and releasing toys to the public like Frisbee.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy, what do you think of these recent reports about drone swarms over Norfolk Air Base, or something where there was like a mothership that was reported, and then multiple like smaller craft?
Probably Chinese. You know,
Yeah.
they've been doing more open, you know, with the balloons that were flown over, and there were many more than that what was reported in the media. It's kind of like that story, you know, lost its news cycle. But the spy balloons, I believe the drone technology that they have has got to be, you know, insane. I mean, they have the best electronics over there. We've outsourced all our manufacturing capabilities to them for like the last decade. So they can outbuild us with that stuff any day. Anything we're buying is the secondhand, you know, market value.
What about the theory that was the kind of the theory? What about the conversation between Hal Puthoff and Eric Weinstein on American Alchemist, where Eric asked Hal, is the U.S. government using private corporations to warehouse and protect from FOIA knowledge of physics unknown to the Academy? To which Puthoff said resoundingly, yes, like absolutely, they're doing that. Certainly with materials. I mean, the Chinese, having very advanced drones. Okay, that's nice. You know, what about our capability?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because if the Chinese have, you know, what they have is I mean, we know that there's the supercavitation technology. That's a lot of that's still classified, even though it's more, you know, well known. It's actually proven, unlike warp drive, you know, for example. We haven't, you know, there hasn't been a, you know, a definitive proof that we can create a warp drive. So I think that these also these electrocraft, so hydrodynamic, electrohydrodynamic, or even just ion drive kind of craft have you know, some really interesting capabilities, especially when you combine them with the aerogel technology, because you can create dirigibles now that are super light, so that, you know, your F equals ma, your m is super small. So for a little tiny bit of force, this electrical force on this thing with some ion wind, you're getting a huge acceleration because your mass is so small through F equals ma. It's just conservation of momentum. So there are some interesting things that have been proposed with, you know, these types of drones and what they could have. So what they're building is, you know, we know certain technologies are out there, and then the speculation is like, well, do they have, you know, anti-gravity technology, or do they even need it? You don't need anti-gravity technology if you have a light aerogel dirigible with electrogravitic skin.
When we say they, are we referencing the Chinese Communist Party, PRC, Communist China? Are we referencing the United States? Like, which faction? Is it the deep state? Is it a private corporation? What is it that we're talking about?
I say that lots of different companies would have that, you know, if they're in advanced research and stuff. That's the stuff that all the stuff I've talked about is just stuff that's in classified programs that isn't known about for real. But if it's like, if there were like what Puthoff is talking about with Weinstein, you know, like vehicle, you know, extraterrestrial vehicles with warp drives, you know, that are capable of interstellar technology and some really advanced capabilities that have been warehoused, kept away from the community. Yeah, there are companies that exist to do that kind of stuff, you know, companies that existed since the Manhattan Project, like the company that made the most, you know, classified component of the Manhattan Project, which was, you know, the Demon cores, right? The Demon cores were, you know, the pure plutonium cores at the center of the bomb, right? And the metallurgy involved took some of the top metallurgists of the time, and one of those guys was John Archibald Wheeler, who's of course the Feynman's PhD advisor, and also the guy who worked with Teller on the H bomb and a lot of the the deep physics work afterwards.
What was the name of that company that made the demon cores?
It was the Batelle Memorial Institute.
Interesting. The Batelle Memorial. Are they still around?
Absolutely. And guess what? Guess what they do now? Go look them up. They manage all of our national labs.
No way. A private nonprofit applied science technology development company.
Oh, in Columbus, Ohio. Geez,
Columbus.
that's 40 minutes from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where the
Right. Interesting coincidence again. It's just strange.
Very strange.
Very strange indeed.
But really nice brick building, right? Like, look at the windows. I love it.
It's like Mattel, but nukes.
I feel like there is a movie about that, right? It's like Small Soldiers, right?
Yeah. What was the other thing? The other question that I had? Oh, somebody in chat said, "What about hypersonics? Like, why do they have them and we don't?" Referencing the Chinese, the communists, Russia. But yeah, we do. I know that's the thing. And with respect to like the Chinese Communist Party technology, it's not. This isn't like it's not proven. This is like a. To say, okay, they have hypersonics is fine. That's fine. Anyone can create, with sufficient technology, a hypersonic round. But getting it to land where you want, that's a completely other thing. So I wouldn't get too ruffled about that.
Right. Yeah, well, again, it's what they have and what their capabilities are. I don't know. We know we can separate what's real from what isn't with physics and with engineering, but we're at the limit right now where we're trying to figure out, is there going to be what's disclosure at the next level? Because why is Elizondo saying disclosure happen? And he's talking about, this metamaterial that can warp space-time by breaking the Schwinger limit and all this really crazy advanced physics. When there's stuff that's flying, we have all kinds. I'm going to list 10 technologies right now that can explain a lot of the UAP phenomenon we see. Laser-induced plasmas, right? So the way that they can create the blue beam technology, right? Projected technology. It's like,
but that doesn't have to be just an illusion. I mean, of course, you can use laser-based plasma for vacuums, right? Like that's.
Well, this explains how certain these luminous objects, which appear to have mass and momentum and position and location, how are they able to accelerate and turn 90 degrees, and then go faster than the speed of light, and then accelerate at these breakneck speeds? Well, if it's a projection, it's just you're just a cat chasing a laser at that point, because you can do all those things with a laser beam and a projection. So that is the first one that eliminates a lot of the noise, right? If you can figure out, are these real
holographic projections?
Holographic projections, or are they physical, actual, real craft? The next thing is the supercavitation technologies, which we've talked about. The next one is the ion wind and the dirigibles,
right?
With the super light aerogels,
which I think would be a little bit more peaceful than what we're seeing, but maybe you see this as an excuse for extreme
around,
right?
Then there's all these other types of balloon technologies that are like they have this buoyancy, the buoyancy pressure balloon. It's like I don't know how you're gonna find this one, but it can change its altitude by like 20,000 feet. It can vary its altitude by up to 20,000 feet by pressurizing and depressurizing like a ballast in a submarine does.
Yeah. Oh, really? Li Chen. Cool.
I heard of a novel way to create a UFO if you don't you don't list it at the end there, I'll let you
Sorry,
know.
what do you? Can you say?
I was gonna say I know a novel way to create a UFO, but if you don't list it at the end, I'll say it.
Okay, fair.
Well, also the Palladium and Nemesis stuff, which is like they would inflate a balloon, so you'd see this object on radar, and then they'd pop that balloon in, and then simultaneously inflate another one like 5 miles away, so it looked like the thing teleported. You know, so that they can. Oh, not Palladium oxide, Project Palladium. Yeah, that was a 1940s, CIA project to spoof radar with, inflatable, collapsible balloons.
Weather balloons, man.
But that's a way to trick the radar. But there's other ways to spoof the radar and send bad signals and, artificial signals insertion into radar and stuff like that. So that's like all under ECCMs or like electronic countermeasures, which is interesting. But yeah, again, another thing that could explain some of these drones and UFOs could be they could be ECCMs, especially the radar stuff. If you see stuff on radar, it's recorded on radar.
Just digital optic mirages, right? They're not even for your eyes, just for your machines.
Yeah. But then also for the visual stuff, they can project these lasers. That's a big one is the laser projection technology, and it's just crazy that I've asked some of these guys about it, and they're just like, no, I know what that stuff is, and there's no way this could be it. Guys like Ryan Graves and stuff. I've asked them about this.
Right. Well, I mean, and I'm sorry if there's more allude like ways that it could have not been UAPs. I think you were going to say, Winslow, you had another one.
Again, I mean, this is the craziest thing because I've talked to like Kevin Day, who was on the Nimitz, and I've talked. He watches all the APEC he's into all this stuff, and he's like, nah, dude, what they saw was not this.
Right. Yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, sorry, Winslow, what you got?
So a way that would be potentially possible to create a phenomenon in the air would be to have a fiber optic cable from a satellite. So satellites orbiting the Earth are going about 60,000 miles per hour, 20,000 plus. So you would just have a couple of fiber optic cables holding whatever object that you would want to make it look like a UFO in the sky. And then you could change your orbit a little bit, and when you're moving that fast, it could be perceived as ultra fast.
Right, but it would have to be rather large, I would think. I feel rather large satellite, but that would still work, I think. Yeah, the high altitude balloons is a pretty good one, though. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of this stuff, when you get to a small enough mass to surface volume ratio, I mean, you're able to do things that are beyond what people are expecting to be possible. I don't know. Do you think it's really that, though? You're saying you think it's something more interesting, right? You think it's more like an alternative gravity system, right, Jeremy?
Well, that's the big question, and that's the $1 million question. Because if you can answer that and you got a positive answer, a yes that it is this, I mean, this is like, what are we doing? We can make aerospace safer. This is what Babson, Roger Babson, set out to do with the whole Gravity Research Foundation. I just watched a video today of someone who found one of the stones at he's got a bunch of these monuments for the Gravity Research Foundation. I'll share my screen. See, that way you guys can see this. But the Roger Babson was this businessman. He was a founder of Babson College, but he had set up a bunch of these groups at a whole bunch of these universities back in the 50s for anti-gravity. He went to war against anti-gravity from the 50s until the 60s.
Wow.
He left behind all these monuments at all these universities. So someone found one at Tufts and was like, "What is this? You know, did some guy really try to beat anti-gravity? And what happened to that? You know, like, why don't we have anti-gravity ships around today?" And this guy put a ton of money into it. Well,
the scales.
Yeah, there's a bunch
nice
of
touch, right?
Yeah. Interesting though. They're all carved by, you know, and he donated them to all these locations. And one of the people that they hired for all this, and they worked in conjunction with the military and Martin Marietta Corporation, Glenn L. Martin Corporation. It was back in the 50s, you know, before it was Martin Marietta, and then Lockheed Martin is what it is today, right? But Lewis Witten was a theoretical physicist who worked for Babson and also, you know, Glenn Research, Glenn L. Martin Corporation, in doing anti-gravity stuff back in the 40s, among other stuff. So if you list his whole memoir, he's got an interview that he gave. In fact, he's still alive. He's old as heck. He's 103. Still alive.
No shit. Where is he? Is he in Massachusetts?
I think he is. I think he might actually be in Massachusetts.
I'll have to pull up.
He's MIT, right? I think he actually is out here somewhere, maybe. But you know what's crazy is that, you know, Lewis Witten is what was I going to say? He what was I going to say? Oh yeah, in 1940s, in his memoirs, he started out at Glenn Martin Corporation, actually working on early drone technology, early UAV, you know, unmanned aerial vehicles. That was what he was building back in the 40s. He talks about it in his memoir, which I was like, wow, this is like must have been really classified stuff back then. I mean, he's working on anti-gravity and like the earliest drone technology before there was drone technology. You know, they were basically taking and you know where that stuff came from? It came from Tesla and Tesla's patents, because they had all the Tesla stuff cleaned out. And Tesla, when, you know, Tesla actually built a remote control boat and was, you know, controlling it at the World's Fair in 1898.
So it was derivative of Tesla. If you're ever in Gloucester, Massachusetts, there's another person that you need to avail yourself of, and you can visit his property. It's called Hammond Castle. The guy's name was Dr. John Hayes Hammond Jr., and he's considered one of the most prolific American technologists of like the turn of the century. John Hayes Hammond Jr. is alleged to have been a pioneer or inventor in the study of remote control. He held over 400 patents. I've been through his estate there. It's interesting. I mean, just like when did he? I mean, construction started on his castle there in Gloucester in 1926, and I don't know, like when was Tesla like really active? Was it early as the 1900s? No, it was like
before that, 1880s.
It was.
1880s,
Okay, yeah. So he was. I mean, it's just another one of these guys. Like, isn't Donald Trump's uncle, said to have like shown up at Tesla's apartment with like a banker's box full of documents or something? And there's like other people that are implicated too, right? That end up with this windfall.
I thought it goes that out of the 3 trunks of patents that Tesla had, only 2 of the trunks are accounted for, but the person who was responsible for the estate of Tesla was Trump's grandfather, uncle.
Yeah.
I mean, would it surprise anyone that Donald Trump or people in his family were time travelers or had access to that? Like the Baron Trump thing, Andreas, I know you've like gone deep down there and you've explored all of that, but it's like, I don't know, just something to keep in the back pocket, you know, in case you need a way to explain things.
I think that's a pretty fabricated
It's pretty
conspiracy
audacious.
theory.
But the coincidences are
I'll tell you this: the stories that guy wrote about Baron Trump, and then those stories were written or wrote more than 100 years ago, so it's in the public domain now, and people have repackaged all of his stories into a single book, and they're selling it on Amazon.
Yeah, I bought it. I mean, I tried reading it. I could not get into it. I need ChatGPT to like summarize and update it. But yeah, no, I get it. I mean, that bullet shaved Donald Trump's ear.
I just don't believe if you could do time travel. I think you could leave more definitive and clues than this. And then it's like, let me go back.
But we're not there yet.
With my son's name in it, rather than
with one R instead
and
of
change
two.
the election or something else.
That really took me out of it when I saw. I was like, oh, he spells Baron differently. Like that's not it. Like I just kind of threw it out after.
2 R's.
It's just one of those weird coincidences, man, where it's like, all right, it's like, I don't know, the world works in weird ways where it's like
Dude, did you know that Christopher
Reeve?
That story. Did you know that Okay, go ahead.
Just to finish that story before you talk about Christopher Reeves. But
it's Christopher Reeve, dude. It's not Christopher Reeves. Like this is another Berenstein Bears. Yeah, it's Christopher Reeve, no S.
The Baron Trump, the Baron Trump time traveler, and the last president. Those are all different stories with different character names. So if you end up finishing reading the
say that again. Say that again. What you said.
The story with Baron Trump, and then the story about the last president of the United States. Those are the author's 2 different short stories, so that they're repackaged as like one story sometime. And then the conspiracy popped up coincidentally around the time Donald Trump was I think going around for his first campaign.
Have you guys ever read any of the Tom Swift Jr. books or any of the Tom Swift series? It is a great series. I highly recommend. If you have a son, read these books to him.
I have Tom Swift Tales in Tartary, and then also Tom Swift and his airship, which is one of my favorites.
Dude, there's a Tom Swift Tales of Tartary?
Yeah, I'll show you that one. But the airship one,
Amazon.
You get to the airship one.
You were going to talk about
an airship.
I wanted to talk about the magnetogravitic systems. What do you think about magnetogravitics?
I like it.
Good answer.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, how you gonna do magnetic fields? So one of the things we're trying to do is get a magnetic susceptometer, and they're like $300K. So we were trying to find someone else who had one that we could use, and I don't know. That's also it's an interesting puzzle we're in now. We're trying to get better measurements for the chi value for all the materials we're using for these gravitators, which I guess are a big part of it's the magnetic field on these things. So that's not easy.
Yeah,
we gotta find a university that has one.
Yeah,
a physics lab at some university.
In Europe, students watching, someone happens to have access to such
That'd be nice of you.
Equipment.
How many of them exist in the world?
There's a couple companies that are making them. There's this one company in Europe that seems to have a lot of knowledge about them. So yeah, I'm just trying to reach out. We reached out to some of those people, see if they're interested in what we're doing, and willing to offer some advice or help. Like, hey, could you tell us how to build our own for $3K versus a hundredth of the price? Maybe. I don't know. I gotta learn more about it.
Do you have any thoughts about, you know, even just Mach's idea of like higher dimensional dynamics, maybe?
Again, kind of above my pay grade, and I rely on a lot of the other experts in our group to really dig through all that stuff. But
fair enough. Nice shout out though, right?
Christopher,
What would you? Yeah, go ahead.
it is Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just still blown away that I think. Sorry, I shouldn't even.
Dude, blow your mind, right?
Well,
Blow your
the
fucking
thing is,
mind, right?
in that Eminem song, he says, you know,
Yeah, then
Christopher
Christopher
Reeves,
Reeves.
Sonny
Yeah.
Reeves horses and hitting some trees. I
Yeah.
think he said Reeves because to rhyme with trees, and I think that's what fucked it up.
And in the next verse, Eminem says, "And I'm a big, big gay guy, and I'm a big and gay." And that's what he rhymes it in the next verse.
No, I don't remember that verse.
Must be
hitting some trees, Sonny Bono.
Yeah, Sonny Bono, something. So Christopher Reeves. Yeah.
Okay, so you brought up that it would be nice to have a 300K alpha magnetron or something to that effect, right? The spectrum, like a magnetometer. What was the name of the item you wanted? And also, what are some other things you would find useful that you think you need for, you know, further experiments and methodologies to test these things?
Well, yeah, there's we probably should get like a wish list going of all that stuff, man, because we have like we got a bunch of different groups. So yeah, again, I'll refer you to the APEC conference at what time tomorrow? I wish it was brought
Noon
up.
PST, I think.
When does the open lab collaboration? Because it will be like towards the end after there's probably 3 speakers, and then probably just go to the go to 1026. I don't know how you got that. And
This must be a cool conference to go to. Is this all over Zoom, Jeremy, or was
it's all over YouTube?
It's all on Zoom, and then I broadcast it on Alien Scientist on my Alien Scientist YouTube channel, and I also do it on the Alt Propulsion YouTube channel.
Very cool.
So after the 3 speakers go, what we do is we open it up to like the lab groups. So there's a bunch of us that have labs all over the U.S. and they will join at the end after the speakers and kind of just share what they're working on and share some, and then we open that to collaboration, and we hope that some of the people watch and will be like, oh hey, so that's a good thing to incorporate in that process.
I'd like to read some of the papers. Are the papers made available? Are they up on the website now? I love the design. You guys have done great work just kind of presenting this. This looks cool.
Yeah, the idea is to to try to sort through the wheat from the chaff. So if we get a team of like people that ask serious questions, we invite people on, if they don't have legit science that they're willing to defend to other engineers and scientists and stuff. It's like, if you're not willing to go through the gauntlet with your your stuff, then and it's kind of like your I don't know what they call it. It's like your dissertation, it's
cool.
It's your chance to defend your thesis, and and people who aren't willing to do that kind of like expose themselves, because it's like, well, if you're not willing to be part of the, if you're not willing to play with the rest of the team, then
like Lou Elizondo.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people that should help put off, like Eric Davis. These guys. I really wish that they'd come through, and it would be it's not a bad experience we've had. It's not like we're gonna sit there and call you names. It's like it's about getting to the bottom of and asking questions and answering real questions. And I guess a lot of these people, they would be like, that's classified, can't talk about that, can't next question.
I'm
What would be the
so
point of having them on? So I guess it's all right if they don't come on, because a lot of those guys, this is the kind of conference where we do ask those
I
kind
think,
of questions.
yeah,
So,
I think guys like that are like more and more as time goes on, they're writing themselves out of the script. And I feel like we're really at the point, if it hasn't happened in some garage or in some startup somewhere, we're really close to, a breakthrough. And like it
Or
has to
missing out
happen.
on it, right? Because someone else
Yeah,
will
and
get
they
it.
are missing out on it. It's like the
Yeah.
primes. Like I was gonna ask Jeremy, like, do you have is anyone from the primes, have they hit you up? Anyone from a Lockheed? Anyone from Northrop, Raytheon, BAE, etc.? Like, is anyone attending APEC? Is anyone even
a few
looking at
people
it?
off record. Yeah, I mean, I know a couple guys from some of those aerospace companies you mentioned. I know people from pretty much all those aerospace companies you mentioned somewhere in the mix, just people that I know or have met over the years. So I've gone to, I go to a lot of conferences, and I go to a lot of I go to a lot of other places where people like me shouldn't be, and then I mix in very well with the stuff that I know. So and I get it. There's a lot of that goes on at URI, MIT, Harvard. There's a lot of stuff that goes on here.
Jeremy, are you in the Northeast? I mean, can you say where you are? I'm in Massachusetts. I'm not sure where you're located.
Yeah, we got the lab in Worcester. So
Okay, nice. Oh, you guys are west of 495, so you're safe. You can have guns out there. East of 495 in Mass is a bit, I don't know, communist.
yeah, well, it's a commonwealth. It's not a state,
So is West Bengal, but it's fun. So anyway, is there anything, because I know we're getting to like the 90-minute mark, is there anything you wanted to also make sure to show or to share about research going on before APEC tomorrow? Because I think APEC is going to be a fantastic event, but maybe you can give a taste to people who haven't done that before, what to expect and what you really think they should latch onto. Yeah.
I mean, the speaker lineup tomorrow is par excellence. It's really like the cream of the crop with the guys that are speaking tomorrow. If you haven't heard of these guys, Gary Stevenson's been involved in DARPA, and I believe DARPA, he's involved with some real crazy research. I did that whole thing on high frequency gravitational waves and whatnot. And then Nathan Inan is just his presentation at Estes Park in 2020 was like just blew everyone away. Oh, he showed his face, man. Oh my God.
Oh my word.
Wow. I have to establish trust with Jeremy because we have places to go, and I can't wear a mask all the time.
All right.
There you go, man. I've probably seen you around. Yeah, you look familiar.
Yeah. We've been in a few. We remember Ian had a show, and we were talking UFOs for a while. But I'm excited to do this in person too. Like, I mean, APEC was once an in-person event, or has it always been Zoom?
Well, we're gonna. I want to start doing some in-person kind of collaborations and stuff too, man. I was thinking we have a unique spot up here with the lab that we have in Worcester, because we have literally our business model is based around a venture capitalist that vets technologies for investment, angel investments and stuff. So we're kind of like the subject matter experts that try to test stuff out with limited amount of money to see if it's worth throwing more money at. And we're trying to go through all this stuff right now because there's been a lot of declassified, disclosed information and technical data to sort through, that there might be something worthwhile here for investors to fund, to dig into, because it's doesn't look like it's going to come willingly out of the government anytime soon. So that's sort of the plan. That's sort of the idea we have. And Worcester,
isn't it though?
Worcester's a really good place for this opportunity because it's like
WPI is out there. You got a lot of
we're
Up and
right in the
coming.
smack of like, you know, close to Boston with all these, you know, one of the academic centers of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, Worcester's like a post-industrial wasteland. It was like built on the, you know, industrial revolution
Mm-hmm.
with
A lot of
Worcester,
mills.
Providence Canal and Railroad and all that stuff. So this was,
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's the perfect city because it needs revitalization. It's like everything's broken. Let's run down. You get like this giant train trestles going through the middle of the whole city that are just rusting to hell, and it's the perfect example of just like
it's
Massachusetts
Massachusetts
that need, like you look at like these other parts of the world where they're building these, you know, new everything.
Yeah,
looks
these future cities. Yeah,
and this is where it needs to happen, man.
That's right. That's exactly right. I'm curious, like an upstart, because like Lockheed, you know, they're huge, and Raytheon huge. All of these massive defense contractors, aerospace companies, Boeing, just massive, giant donkeys, just big, morbidly obese donkey fucks. That isn't there an opportunity here for like an upstart, like Anduril or somebody else to, like, you know, really just say, you know what, fuck all of you, and then just like leapfrog and kind of leverage these things and really go after whatever it is, faster than light or blah blah blah, whatever. Have you been approached? Have anyone talked to you about that, or what do you guys think about that?
Well, someone's got to be in the game to get to, you know, they say by the time someone gets to Mars, like, or the rocket that leaves to go farther than has ever been before, someone will launch a rocket after them that will actually beat them there.
Yeah, right, exactly. Paradox. I feel like there's a real fertile ground right now for someone like Palantir to make, not Palantir, Anduril. I'm getting my Tolkien companies mixed up. The Anduril to like leapfrog all of the other primes. And we saw this with SpaceX, right? There's your existence proof. Right. For 50, 60, 70 years, you know, Lockheed, and then later the Boeing, Lockheed, Northrop, whoever, United Launch Alliance, did nothing to advance, you know, the efficiency of getting shit to orbit. And then you had this upstart SpaceX come and just fucking blow everybody away. Like, why can't we do that? You know, with just propulsion in general or whatever, just technology in general.
Isn't that kind of Lucky's game, right? Isn't that what he's been doing and trying to do for a while?
Yeah, Lucky is the shit, isn't he? The he's just an iconoclast. Exactly when you need
like him. I know.
I love the guy. I think he's great. I can't get a job there, but you know, I keep trying. I keep trying.
Yeah, we should do some space, aerospace.
Jeremy, how do you pay the bills?
Contractor. I build stuff for people. You know, so.
Okay, cool.
Seems to make more than a salary job. You know, best job I got out of college is like a 19-hour like overglorified electronics technician. I used to do like electronic security and AV, audio video stuff, and a lot of like automation programming, like Crestron, and you know, building custom like control systems for houses and also for like businesses, offices, and like and stuff like that. I did that for a little while, and then I also do remodeling, you know, for just general construction. I like to do tile too.
Legit. Fuck, man. Yeah, you're right, Jeremy. You know, Massachusetts is basically like a rust bin at this point. It's so depressing, man. I was away for 10 years, right? I was abroad. I lived in Asia. I come back because I left around 2010. Yeah, about 2010 time frame, 2011, 2012 maybe. And I came back, you know, 12 years later, and just driving up and down 93, every single overpass that you go under, it's rusted to shit, and you're worried that things are going to collapse on you. The Route 1 bridge is this disgusting bridge. For anyone who's ever ever going to come to Massachusetts, number one, don't. It's a terrible place. Place is awful. I don't know why we live here. The weather's terrible, but that's all right. We live here. There's a bridge called the Route 1 Bridge, Route North Bridge, the Tobin Bridge. It is a disgusting monstrosity. And then you have like, the Big Dig. For those who were like around in the 90s, it was like it was a great time, right, for America in general, but for Boston particularly, because there was this Big Dig project, which was like the biggest engineering project in the world. And it's like still unfinished. There's a piece of a highway, you drive past it, it's rusting to shit. When Jeremy says that it's like rusting to shit, it's true. And it's like the phoenix must rise from the corrosion, from the ashes of the fucking corroded metal. And I hope it happens, and I hope it happens quickly and soon.
Yeah, that's crazy. The Tobin Bridge is definitely
gross.
It is almost as bad as the old highway that used to go through Atlantic Avenue downtown, until they buried it underground.
Right.
I know that's people still getting killed. It's the ceiling panels fell and hit that lady in the tunnel, and Ted Williams tunnel in there and everything. And so it's a mess. And it was like $1 billion, the $1 billion project. A bunch of the contractors, are in prison for swindling tons of money out of it.
Dude. It's such a shit show. Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, the tiles falling on the lady. They're still closing the Sumner just the other day. Like on a Sunday, they would close it, and it's just like no one's talking to each other. We have a communist mayor of the city. It's just like Biden's flying illegals in. Pardon me while I get political, right?
It's crazy. I mean, we could talk about Boston all day, and these guys have no idea what we're talking about with the problems with Storrow Drive, all the low bridges, and all the college students that move in every summer and drive a moving truck down Storrow Drive.
They get Storrowed, yeah.
It just happens. Like, you can't just fix the roads in this town. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. Hey, Brian, what's up? The Lucid Genius is with us. This is Brian Staroselsky. God bless him. He's enjoying Japan right now. It's early morning Japan time frame, isn't it? No, it's about 9 a.m.
He's in the hotel tub.
So Brian's a great guy. He's adept. He's erudite, mathematician. I mean, kind of like formally trained. I think that's in physics, math and physics. So I would love to hear Jeremy and Brian just chop it up about faster than light and whatever we can do to get there.
Yeah, I think I got a real bad echo.
I thought we had
I might have to find some earbuds when I hop out and then get back in or something. I don't know if
we were doing suits only. I mean,
I downgraded to the polo, and now Brian's fully naked.
Bernie's gonna kill me when he finds out. And by the way, I'm gonna give him a hell of a plug. Everybody, you should make sure you subscribe to Bernie's channel and make sure you watch APEC from all of the channels you can, but also from Bernie's channel tomorrow. And Bernie will be doing some real science real soon. Don't you worry. But we should probably get you a suit. You know what I mean? I think he probably has one. Oh,
Bernie, you should just show up naked right now.
Birthday suit.
It's too hot for suits.
He has a point.
How do I get to Bernie's?
What do you mean too hot? Don't you have one of these?
My wife keeps it like 79 degrees in my apartment.
You don't have a personal air conditioner?
Oh, dude, I did get one of those from Japan, but I don't have that model. I have the original one that they were giving out for the Tokyo Olympics before the communists released the coronavirus in collaboration with Fauci to fucking fuck Trump and whatever. And it doesn't work because the software you need for it is only available on the Japan App Store. So I have this like it's like this tiny little thing. I mean, it's send me a link. Who makes that? I'll have to look that up and get that on Amazon.
I'm not giving them any sort of sponsorship unless they sponsor.
Search GitHub if they have anything on there.
Yeah. Whole family for Christmas.
Thanks, brother.
I'll let you know privately which model I have.
Okay, good deal.
But DARPA pays $6 million to see fully autonomous Black Hawk helicopters. This is just last week. Yeah, it's adorable. I think also I like the analog ones, but you know what? Drone be drone. And also the helmet, right? This is something we've been talking about for a while, but the helmet that will allow pilots to maneuver their jets and fire weapons with their minds, right? I think we're moving to an interesting place with that. Do you think that this stuff is just like releasing? Why does it seem like this is so old? It seems like
So
the military is showing you like the most simplistic things that we've already had for years, right? This is like Berkeley
Yeah,
2010.
it seemed like that because this was all part of the ATIP thing that the TTSA came out with in 2017, and so back in 2007 they had this FOIA. I mean, that Stephen Aftergood guy did that FOIA and found the 28 redacted pages. Wasn't this not the 28 redacted pages? That's the 9/11 Commission, but these were a 32 or 28 or 32 studies that were done under the ATIP program, and one of those studies was the same thing. The idea of controlling things with your mind, and how many different things could you control with what could one controller control of, because I can play I used to play a video game with two live action role-playing games, and I play two accounts at once with two computers,
right.
And but I don't think I could do 3. 2 is really difficult. I could do 2, but it wouldn't be as perfect or nearly as good as if I
was that WoW. Were you playing World of Warcraft?
One of those. I'm not going to give sponsorship again to
They better
Are we
pay
making
us
money? I don't understand. Like, unless like
that's what I'm saying. They should give us money if they want to hear the names of things.
Yeah.
True.
Or like free level ups, like
give me something.
bonuses, some items, maybe like a bonus chest.
Maybe extra lives would be really good.
Roll. So you used to like play it
character skins unlocked, something. Anyways. But
I think also this I just wanted to show the system for artificial telepathy, or artificial telepathy.
Is that Lenin?
Kind of has a Gorbachev look to him, but this is in the sense that it's that old. It is that old, right? The technology's been around forever, and so we're pretending that this is something so.
I need a Kolyrev mirror to do this.
Yuri Geller, the guy who said he was psychic and could read, do this remote viewing and all this stuff, and he was like, apparently he worked with this guy named Puharic, P-U-H-A, Dr. Puharic, P-U-H-A-R-I-C, and Dr. Puharic has a patent and on a radio transceiver that could be hidden in a tooth, and apparently, like Yuri Geller had this transceiver in one of his fillings. This guy was his dentist and did his dentistry, and hid this transceiver in his tooth so that he could basically radio him the messages.
Yeah.
And fake all these CIA people into thinking he had telepathy and these psychic abilities and stuff. So, like, I think this is like a secret to some of the history of how they actually tricked the CIA into thinking that remote viewing was real. And that, but I don't know. Remote viewing is one of those things where I really am super skeptical. And I've said, this is like, show me someone who can do it, because I don't believe that the CIA is, watching you masturbate it behind your camera that you just shut off. Right. I don't know. I don't wonder who are they have this, apparently they can go and enter, facilities and look at, there was this incident apparently where some guy remote viewed classified information in some base and read the programs off some paper, and there was like a whole investigation in Congress into some leak of potential classified information. And but then also, like, I talked to guys like David Chester, who's like our top physicist for theoretics on the team. He's an MIT graduate, real smart guy, part of the whole not Gravity Research Foundation, but what's the one out there with Kip
Thorne, American Anti-Gravity?
Not Kip Thorne. Sorry, Kip Thorne's the other theoretical physicist there.
Here's Kip Thorne right here.
David Chester's boss.
Yeah.
David Chester, and he works for physics here it is, quantum gravity research.
Oh, that's in Santa Monica, though.
Yeah, quantum gravity research. They're in Santa Monica, and their head scientist is this. All right, so our staff, yeah. So Clee Irwin, sorry, that's his name. Clee Irwin, right, is the head of that foundation, cool. Right? And this guy's got tons. He's like a multimillionaire, runs a bunch of these companies. That he made a bunch of money, and he said he wanted to invest, his philanthropy in gravity. He's like Roger Babson, of our day, right? A modern day Roger Babson. So Clee Irwin here, it turns out I didn't know this about him till I didn't even know this about it till I watched David Chester had given that interview on Danny Jones' podcast, right? And apparently Clee Irwin got interested in a lot of this stuff because he had a son who could remote view. His son was born with this remote viewing ability, which, I'm like, is this real now? Like, I'm not so sure. Like now, people saying that this is legit, like certain people have
Better
it.
to err on the side of than no.
Jeremy, what do you think of the
have the Sean Ryan show did a 6-hour interview with Joe McMonigle, and he's like the OG. He's the original remote viewer from the Army
First
Intelligence
Earth Battalion. Yeah, men who stare at goats.
Not that other guy that stopped the magnetic needle for Hal Puthoff and those guys. Who Ingo Swann was the guy apparently was another one.
There's a lot to what you're.
I gotta watch that one. Where we go find that one? Bring that one up, Andreas. It was on Sean Ryan. You said
Sean Ryan, number 95.
Yeah. What about the Kozarev mirror? Andreas?
Yeah, that's another weird. It's weird, man.
Have you made one? Have you tried one?
I haven't done that one yet. I haven't.
I mean, it should be relatively simple to do, right? What is it? Polished aluminum? I mean, it's like
the intro or the intro that Sean Ryan gives this guy is his longest intro. It's kind of cool. He talks about all the different things he's worked on. But I haven't watched it yet.
Did you guys hear about the early night vision goggles that they had in Vietnam? Apparently, like everyone was seeing demons with and stuff, and they changed them out and now they no longer allow this type of night vision, and it's based on this dye. Hold up.
You say demons and night vision, I can't get that image of that meme out of my mind.
Right.
The Special Forces meme.
While you're finding that, I just want to really quickly show this withdrawn German patent for relaying transmissions of modulated electromagnetic wave beams to human receivers to influence thoughts and actions without electronic receiver. And this is an interesting patent because the concept is essentially to relay already existing mental EEG patterns, right? So you're just propelling the already existing brain waves and pushing them on to another brain, right? So it's pretty good idea, actually.
Sweet.
So I found it, and you know what? It's this cyan and dye conspiracy thing, and you can actually. They said this stuff is regulated by the government and stuff, but you can apparently buy it. So you can order it and buy it. I don't know if that's going to put you on a list or what, but
nice.
That's another one I wanted to try, but I just don't have the time or the money right now to really dig into this one. But apparently, if you take this cyan and dye and you use it in these night vision goggles, it sees like all frequencies, and it opens up some stuff in the spectrum that allows you to see stuff that's, I guess, freaked out a lot of the military, and they no longer allow it. According to the conspiracy, anyway.
I like that one a lot. Well, we're at the last 7 or so minutes. Is there anything else you want to push on these poor, innocent, naive people?
Well, now that I opened up the demon world, I don't know. yeah, what do you guys have anything else out there that you know about that we should check out or look into next? Yeah, apparently a bunch of people went to the mental hospital, like seen some crazy stuff with these glasses, and there's some stories about it anyway. I don't know too much more about it, but you're welcome. I mean, be careful with this stuff, man.
Yeah, the Danvers State Mental Hospital. That's where they ended up. The Danvers State Mental Hospital. More Massachusetts kind of inside baseball talk, but
yeah, well, there's a lot of state mental hospitals in Massachusetts.
There are a lot, and there are many.
There's a lot of stuff in Rhode Island that went on. You know, the bodies that they found right off the highway down in Cranston, right off of 37. They found a whole graveyard. It was connected to and then there was the school that was down here in Rhode Island. I forget the name of the school. I'm gonna have to look this up.
No, there's quite a few. I mean, there were quite a few.
So many.
You know, H.P. Lovecraft was from Rhode Island. He's from New England area. Spent time in Massachusetts, and the name of Arkham, the Arkham Asylum, which Batman lore then kind of derives from H.P. Lovecraft, is based on the Danvers State Mental Hospital in Danvers, Massachusetts, which has now since been bulldozed. Probably was full of people coming back from Vietnam who were looking through the dicyanide fucking night vision goggles and saw demons, these poor bastards. And anyway, that place is definitely probably haunted. It's all condominiums now. They bulldozed it and they build on top of it. But it's like so obvious. I mean, you go to these places, you know that there was a landfill there, right? You're driving in. Like I went to look at this place. It was obviously an old landfill. And I get there and I asked the guy the question and he's like, was like personally offended. You know, it's like, come on, man, look at these giant mounds. Like these are not this is not natural geography. But
the rivers and tilt does not like even glacial. A lot of this is glacial till, you know.
Right. That's right.
Kind of reminds me of the Fergus Falls State Mental Asylum. That place is kind of creepy.
Where was that? Is that in Cali?
That's in Minnesota. Fergus Falls. But there's so many state-owned mental hospitals all over the country that are just abandoned, and some of them are still there.
Yeah,
the one that freaked me out, of course, is the Napa State Hospital, right?
Napa? They sell auto parts there? What is that place?
Well, Napa, California, where the wine
Napa Valley, okay.
Is it still up?
No.
Is it still standing?
I think part of the building is, isn't it? No, it's fully
they all had tunnels underneath them. I remember the one in Foxborough. They used to have a haunted house back in Halloween back in the day.
Yeah.
You could go through the tunnels and for the mental, you go in one building in the mental hospital and then you go through the tunnel underneath the ground into the next. And you know, a lot of stuff.
I mean, it kind of looks like Harry Potter's, like Hogwarts, right? That's how I like to think about it.
I like to think of just
we always think of like the worst case scenarios. Yeah, terrible, grievous things happened in the past, but like probably a lot of people were also helped. And also, like now, instead of having state-run institutions, we just have open air asylum with like crazy lunatics chopping off their genitals and like trying to convince kids to do it. Like just day walking, like that didn't used to happen, right? They had a place where like they could be taken care of and hopefully get some therapy.
Well, you want to look into a window into what the hospital system in Massachusetts was like back in the 60s. There's a very little known documentary called The Titty-Cut Follies you can watch. If you're really interested.
The Titty-Cut Follies?
Titty-Cut Follies, yeah.
That's... Wow.
Direct cinema document film produced, directed by Frederick Wiseman and filmed by John Marshall, deals with the patient inmates of Bridgewater State Hospital for the criminally insane and Massachusetts Correctional Institute in Bridgewater. Yeah.
It's pretty weird. It's pretty wild.
Cut.
The title is taken from that of a talent show put on by the hospital staff.
Or what about the one? Sorry.
No, that's fine. It's last part. It's a Winnipeg name for the nearby Taunton River. Okay.
So. Where is Bridgewater State Hospital? Because something about that.
Bridgewater, Massachusetts. It's southern South Shore.
is right out, miles out in the farm from where I went to college. I went to Bridgewater State University.
Oh, no shit.
The CIA did stuff over at like in Quebec State Hospital, I believe.
Quebec, that's going to be Canada, right?
Yeah.
Who did stuff there? Who did you say did?
I'm either thinking of Quebec or I'm thinking of Michigan.
That looks like the prison that Leary escaped.
The Quebec mind control experiments, I think you're maybe inferring.
Oh, here we are, full circle. Yeah, I said that looked like the prison Leary escaped in the helicopter, and then you just said went right to MK Ultra.
Well, I know that sorry, go ahead.
Michael McDermott, the Wakefield shooters there. Dr. Sharp, the surgeon that shot up all the people at his wife and all her lovers, is there. There's a whole bunch of famous mass criminal celebrities there.
What, at the Bridgewater State Mental Hospital?
Yeah.
Is it still running?
Yeah.
No shit.
Did you not see the picture a second ago?
Yeah, I thought maybe it was just whatever abandoned. Like many places in Massachusetts that are rotting and abandoned.
Look at it. This is not rotting and abandoned, bro. This is
wow. Look at the concertina.
Yeah.
It's a whole concert of concertina in there, dude.
Right. Yeah. I would be really freaked out to be in your state, but definitely if I couldn't leave.
Let's go visit these places. Andreas, come out here, visit Jeremy and myself. And Stone, you're welcome. And we'll go and tour all these places.
Speaking of which, everyone, make sure you subscribe to Jeremy Reese, the alien scientist, Maha, right here. Grandfather.
And subscribe to me, too. Behind the Laser at X.
Sweet. Okay, Behind the Laser, right here.
Boom.
Boom, you found him. Now you know. All right. And subscribe to Alien Scientists on YouTube. And, hey, Winslow.
Yes.
I'm glad you're here. We're going to do this again real soon.
Yeah,
this next story.
Wait, say it again? I got you cut.
I said you'll be seeing more of me really soon. I got to figure this microphone situation out and all that. But yeah.
Winslow's the best.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andreas. You're the greatest. Thanks, Jeremy.
God bless you all.
This next story has been suppressed by mainstream media. Let's go to Andreas for more.
Everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
Hello. Welcome to the Exators. Tune in for another exciting episode of wonder, imagination, and discovery.
Recent Tartarians.
Она образует всеобщие закономерности, определяющие законы классической физики для нашего
Sometimes I
мира.
look at the moon and just think, your skin's beautiful.
Baby, when I met you, there was peace unknown.
Что касается энергии наномер, то она превышает ядерную в немыслимое число раз. 10 в 74 степени.